This is Soul Signal, where the soul comes to rest. My name is Patrice. In a moment, a story will begin. You don't need to do anything with it. You don't need to remember it or carry it or learn from it. Only let it move through you, the way water moves through open hands. There is a version of you that creates from a place so deep and quiet that fear cannot reach it. Tonight, we rest our way down to her. Rest our way down to her. Unusual phrasing, intentional. It reframes rest as a creative act, not a pause from creating. Speak it slowly. Let down to her land fully. Before the forge, the breath. Place both hands on your belly, divine soul. Feel the warmth there. Not the warmth of rest, not the warmth of stillness, but the warmth of something in you that has been ready for a long time. Something that has been waiting at the forge door while the rest of you debated whether it was allowed to begin. It has been ready. It has been ready for longer than you know. Let your shoulders fall. The question of permission will not be answered tonight by thinking harder about it. Tonight, we go deeper than the question, down to the place where the work lives, down to the part of you that has always known what it is for. 3 rounds, slow. The forge has been burning. It has been waiting for you, the way all good work waits, patiently, without losing heat. Round 1. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts, like drawing breath from pre-dawn air, cold and alive, and carrying the particular clarity of a world not yet awake. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. Let the breath reach the creative places, the deep ones that have been waiting, the ones where the work actually lives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through soft lips for 8. Let the waiting go. The waiting for permission, the waiting for the right time, the waiting for someone to say yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Round 2. Inhale for 4, gathering the maker in you from all the places she has been held back. Hold for 7. Let her settle, the way iron settles in the forge. Not forced, not rushed, just finding its temperature, becoming workable. Exhale for 8, releasing the story that creation requires permission. Round 3. Inhale for 4. The forge knows you are here. Hold for 7. Trust what your hands already know. Exhale for 8. Let the pre-dawn dark be yours. Now let your breathing return to its own rhythm, the natural rhythm, the one your body has before anyone tells it how to breathe. Feel the bed beneath you, the weight of your body, settled and present. Your jaw can release now. Your throat, your shoulders. They have been holding the weight of the unstarted thing, the thing you have been meaning to begin, the thing you have been waiting to be given permission to make. Let the shoulders release, not the work, the waiting, your hips, heavy and wide, your hands, open, the maker's hands. They know what they are for. They have always known. In the distance, or not in the distance, just here, already present, the sound of a forge at pre-dawn. Low, steady, the fire that does not wait to be told it may burn. If it feels right, let these words move through you the way forge breath moves through iron, changing the temperature, making something workable that was too cold before. Sacred fire, first maker, God who began before the world was ready. Remind me tonight that I was made to make things, not someday, not once I have been given permission, not after I have earned the right. Now, where I have been waiting at the forge door, remind me the door was never locked. Where I have been hoarding my making for a safer season, remind me that spirit does not wait for safety. Where I have been afraid that what I make will not be enough, remind me that beginning is always enough. Tonight, I do not ask to be great. I ask only to begin. And so the fire is lit, and so it holds. The forge was hers best in the dark, not because she preferred darkness, because before dawn, the work belonged only to itself. No one watching, no one evaluating, no one standing at the door of the forge, waiting to decide whether what came out was worth the fire it cost. Just her, and the iron, and the fire, and the cold stream running past the forge door in the Celtic dark, indifferent and alive. She had been coming here before dawn for as long as she could remember. Not because anyone told her to, because this was when she was most herself. The Brigid who walked through the village in daylight, the one people brought their sick to, the one they came to for words when words had failed them. the one they wanted at every threshold and every beginning. That Brigid was real. But this one, the one who came to the forge before the sun and lit the fire herself and stood at the anvil in the dark and began without knowing how it would end. This was the one she was most certain of. You have a version of yourself like this, don't you, divine soul? The one who exists in the early hours or the late ones. The one who shows up when nobody is there to see it. Not performing, not explaining, not justifying the time spent. Just working, making, moving toward the thing your hands have been reaching for since before you had language for it. That version of you has been waiting at the forge door, waiting for the right season, the right circumstances, the right permission. Tonight, we go to her. She had been waiting longer than she knew. Not days, years. The way a fire waits in wood. Not visible, not announced, just present. Held inside the grain. Ready for the conditions to be right. Ready for the spark. She had spent years believing the waiting was the problem. That if she could just resolve the question of permission, find the right person to grant it, the right season to receive it, the right version of herself worthy enough to begin, the waiting would end. She had not understood yet that the waiting was not the obstacle. The waiting was the fuel. Everything she had carried in the years of not yet. The watching, the wanting, the slow accumulation of knowing what she would make if she were ever allowed. That was in the iron. That was in the work waiting to be done. The forge did not need her to arrive empty. It needed her to arrive. You have been accumulating too, divine soul. In the years of not yet, the observations you have made about how things could be different, the way you have noticed what is missing from the world, and felt quietly that your hands might know how to make it. The ideas that arrive in the space between sleeping and waking and disappear before you have written them down. The creative impulse you have been calling someday. All of that is in you, waiting. Not for permission, for the walk to the forge. The path to the forge ran along the stream. She had walked it so many times that her body held the knowledge of it, the way bodies hold things that the mind has long since stopped tracking. The particular dip in the ground 3 steps past the elder tree. The place where the path narrowed and the wet grass reached her ankles. The stone she had turned her foot on once in the first year, and ever since stepped around, without thinking, without needing to remember. The body's memory, older than language. The way a maker's hands remember what the mind has not yet articulated. She trusted both of these, the foot that knew the path, the hands that knew the work. She had learned over a long time that the knowledge in the body was not less than the knowledge in the mind. It was different. And for certain kinds of work, the work done in the dark, the work done before the world was watching, it was more. The air was cold in the way Celtic pre-dawn air is cold. Not hostile, precise. A cold that named things clearly. The smell of the earth, the smell of the stream, close and mineral. The particular smell of a place that had been working for centuries and carried the memory of it in its soil and stone and water. She breathed it in, fully. The cold air doing what cold air does, clearing the spaces that warmth and comfort had softened over sleep. Waking the maker in her the way cold always does. Not gently, but truly. The kind of waking that leaves no room for half presence. You are either here or you are not. The pre-dawn cold required all of her, and she gave it. The stream ran fast here, cold even in high summer, fed by something underground, something that had its own temperature and did not warm for seasons. She liked that about it. The consistency. The fact that the cold stream did not ask anyone's permission to stay cold. It simply was what it was, reliably, year after year. She wanted to make things like that. Things that simply were what they were, reliably, without apology, without requiring anyone's assessment to confirm their nature. The heron was at the stream, as it always was. She had never arrived at the forge before the heron. She had tried once, coming an hour earlier than usual, in the deep of winter, when the dark lasted long into morning, and the heron had been there already. Standing in the stream, one leg, the pale curve of its neck, almost disappearing into the gray of pre-dawn. She had stopped on the path and looked at it for a long moment. It did not look back. It was watching something in the water with the complete and unhurried attention of a creature that has never questioned whether its watching was valid. It simply watched, because watching was what it was here to do, and because the fish would come or they wouldn't. In either way, the watching was the correct thing. She had thought about that for months afterward. What the heron had was this. It did not require its work to be witnessed before it began. It did not look around the stream to see if anyone was watching before it stilled itself to wait. It did not wonder if its watching was worthy of the time it was spending. It watched because watching was correct. because the fish would come or they wouldn't, and the watching was right either way. She had spent a long time making her making conditional, contingent on outcome, on reception, on whether the thing she made would justify the time spent making it. The heron was teaching her something older than that the doing is its own justification, that the work does not need a result in order for the working to have been real, that she could come to the forge and make something imperfect and unknown and unjustified by any external measure, and the coming would still have been correct. The making would still have been real. You have been making your making conditional, divine soul, waiting to begin until you can guarantee the ending, waiting to create until you can be sure it will be received, waiting to show up at the forge until you know the first made thing will be worth the fire it costs. The heron does not know if the fish will come. It comes to the stream anyway, because this is its place, because the watching is what it is here to do, because doing the right thing does not require advance confirmation that the right thing will be rewarded. The heron's wingtips were dark, not from the stream, not from shadow, charcoal dark, the color of forge smoke, as if the bird had stood too close to a fire once and the mark had stayed. Not as damage, as memory, as the evidence of presence, as if it had been at the forge before she had, before she existed, before anyone had thought to ask whether the fire was allowed. Some things were at the forge before you arrived, divine soul. The impulse to make. The thing in the hands that knows its shape before the mind has agreed to it. The work that arrives in you, not as an idea you had, but as a pressure, like something needing to be born, that has been waiting for you to stop asking whether you are the right person to birth it. That was there before the permission question. It will be there after. It is the heron in the stream, standing in the dark, watching the water, because watching the water is what it is here to do. She passed the heron without disturbing it. She had learned not to try, not because it was fragile, because its attention was complete. And complete attention is a sacred thing that deserves to be left alone. The forge door was ahead. The particular smell of it, old iron, old ash, the residual warmth of yesterday's fire still faintly present in the stone, met her before she reached it. She stood at the door for a moment, just a moment, not hesitating, not doubting, just receiving what the door offered. The warmth of old fires, the smell of iron that had been worked by hands she would never know, the particular authority of a place that had been used honestly for a long time. Forges accumulate this. The honest work of many hands becomes a presence in the walls, a kind of permission that does not require words. She put her hand against the stone of the doorframe. The way a woman puts her hand against the doorframe of a place she has come home to. The way a maker recognizes the place of making. This is where I work. This is where I bring what has been in my hands into the world. This is the place that receives it. She pushed the door open and stepped in. She lit the forge fire herself. She always lit it herself. There were people who offered, apprentices, students, people who thought that the goddess of the forge should not have to tend the practical business of fire starting. She declined every time because the lighting was not maintenance. The lighting was the beginning. And she had learned over a long time that the beginning of a thing told you something essential about the thing itself. How the fire started, whether it caught quickly or slowly, whether it wanted to burn today, whether something in the air or the wood or the hour was aligned with what she was trying to make. You could not know that if someone else lit it for you. You had to be there for the beginning. She had watched other makers delegate their beginnings, hand the lighting to someone else, arrive after the fire was already going and call it efficiency. She lit the forge fire herself. She always lit it herself. There were people who offered, apprentices, students, people who thought that the goddess of the forge should not have to tend the practical business of fire starting. She declined every time because the lighting was not maintenance. The lighting was the beginning. And she had learned over a long time that the beginning of a thing told you something essential about the thing itself. How the fire started, whether it caught quickly or slowly, whether it wanted to burn today, whether something in the air or the wood or the hour was aligned with what she was trying to make. You could not know that if someone else lit it for you. You had to be there for the beginning. She had watched other makers delegate their beginnings, hand the lighting to someone else, arrive after the fire was already going and call it efficiency. She understood the logic. She had tried it once, early on, when the days were full and the pre-dawn felt indulgent, had sent an apprentice ahead, had arrived to find the fire burning and felt immediately that something was wrong. Not with the fire, with her. She was already behind, already one step removed from the work that was supposed to be hers. The fire had a temperature she had not set. The iron would carry the heat of another person's morning. She had never sent anyone ahead again. Not because she was precious about it, because she understood what she had nearly lost. The thing that cannot be added later. The Maker's presence from the very first moment. That particular attention. That specific quality of showing up that makes the work irrevocably hers. You cannot add that at the end. You cannot fold it in after the beginning has already happened. The beginning is either yours or it belongs to the version of yourself that was too afraid to arrive first. The beginning tells you something, divine soul. Not because beginnings are magical, because when you begin yourself, with your own hands in your own time, without delegating the starting, you are in contact with the work from its first moment. And the work knows the difference. The thing you started yourself has your fingerprints on it from the beginning. Not metaphorically. The actual texture of your particular attention from the very first moment. That is in the work. In ways that cannot be added later. In ways that make it yours in a way nothing else can be. The fire caught. Slowly at first. The way honest fires catch. Without performance, without immediacy. Just a small warmth finding its footing and then growing. And then deepening. And then becoming what fire becomes when it has been given what it needs and allowed to do what it does. She watched it for a moment. This was also not maintenance. This was orientation. Understanding what she was working with today. Getting inside the temperature of the morning. The air in the forge was cold still. The fire too new to have changed it yet. Cold stone walls. Cold iron on the rack. Cold dark pressing against the small window above the workbench. And at the center of all of that cold, this small insistence of heat. Growing. Sure of itself. Not asking the cold's permission to exist. This was the first lesson of the forge. The fire does not negotiate with the cold. It does not wait for the cold to agree to step back. It does not ask whether it is welcome. It burns. And the cold, in the presence of burning, has no choice but to give way. Not all at once. Gradually. The way the cold always gives way to the patient application of heat. She had spent years learning to apply herself like fire. Not aggressively. Patiently. Steadily. Not asking the resistance to approve of her before she began. Simply beginning. And trusting that the cold of waiting would give way. the way it always did, the way it always had. The iron was on the rack. She had prepared it the night before, selected it with care, not because she knew yet what she was making, but because she could feel in the choosing which piece was ready. This one, this weight, this particular grain. She had learned to trust that feeling. It was not certainty. It was something older than certainty. Something that operated before the mind had time to approve. You have a feeling like this, divine soul, about the work, about the thing you have been not quite starting. Not certainty, something older. The sense that this particular work, this particular form, this particular way of making is the one. Not because it is the best possible idea, because it is yours. In the specific way that your grain is yours, your weight is yours, your particular temperature of making belongs to you and no one else. That feeling is not asking for permission. That feeling is the forge fire, already burning, already ready, already waiting for you to stop asking whether you are allowed and pick up the iron. She put the iron in the fire and waited. This was the part most people did not understand about making. The waiting was not wasted time. The waiting was when the material became workable. When the iron that was too hard, too cold, too fixed in its current shape became something else. Something that could be changed. Something that could be worked. You could not rush this. The iron would tell you when it was ready. Not with words, with color, black first. The iron as she had placed it, dark, resistant, holding its shape against the heat. This was the stage that discouraged people. The stage where nothing seemed to be happening, where the fire was burning and the iron was in it and still nothing moved. This was the stage where the impatient left, where the ones who needed to see results immediately pulled the iron out too soon and tried to work it cold and found it would not yield. She had learned to stay in the black stage, to trust what she could not yet see, to believe that beneath the unchanged surface, something was changing. Temperature moving through metal the way understanding moves through a person. Slowly, invisibly, and then all at once. Red came next. A dull red. The beginning of readiness. Not there yet. Close. The way you feel close before you feel it. The body knowing before the mind confirms. She watched the color carefully. The forge light moved on the iron. The iron held its color, deepened it, became more itself, more red, more orange. The particular orange-red that meant now. Not yellow, too hot, too liquid. Not black, too cold, too stubborn. Orange-red, the color of readiness, the color of something that has been through fire and is now workable. While she waited, she became aware of the heron. It had come inside. She did not know when. Sometime between the lighting and the waiting. It stood at the far wall of the forge, the cold wall away from the fire, and watched her with the same unhurried attention it had given the stream. The forge light caught its wingtips. The charcoal dark of the forge smoke that had permanently marked them looked different by firelight. Not dark, deep. The way things look deep when light is moving through them from the inside. As if the heron had been at so many forges for so long that the fire had become part of it. Not damage, history, evidence. What has the fire made part of you, divine soul? Not the fire of disaster, the forge fire, the seasons of making, the work that went unwitnessed, the things you built in the dark before anyone knew you were building. What marks do you carry from having been at the forge, from having worked and failed, and reworked, and learned the temperature of things by being wrong about it first? Those marks are not damage. They are your wingtips. They are the evidence of presence. They are the proof that you have been at the forge long enough to carry its signature on you. The iron was ready, orange-red, workable, waiting. She lifted the tongs. And here was the moment she always reached, the moment before the first strike, when the iron was ready and the hammer was in her hand, and the making was one motion away from beginning, and something in her said, "Wait, not yet. Are you sure? Is this the right piece? Is this the right morning? Is this the right shape you are moving toward? Have you been given permission to make this particular thing from this particular fire in this particular dark?" You know this moment, divine soul. You have been standing in it. Not at a forge, at the threshold of the work that has been in your hands for a long time. The idea that arrived. The project that has been almost started for longer than you want to admit. The thing you made once and quietly put away and have been returning to in the quiet hours ever since. The voice that says, "Wait, not yet. Are you sure? Is this allowed?" That voice is not wisdom. That voice is the thing that happens to a maker who has been told in one way or another that the making requires authorization, that the work needs to be approved before it can be real. It is not protecting you. It is the cold. And you already know how to work with cold. You put it in the fire. You wait. You work it when it is ready. This is not the moment to be given permission. This is the moment to begin anyway. She struck. The first strike. The sound of it rang through the forge and out through the open door, and across the cold stream and into the pre-dawn air that received it the way pre-dawn air receives everything, without comment, without judgment, just holding it briefly before letting it go. The iron moved. Not much. The first strike never moves much. The first strike is an introduction. Maker and material meeting. Finding the nature of each other. Beginning the conversation that will determine what is made. She struck again and again, finding the rhythm that was not decided in advance, but discovered in the making. That particular rhythm that belonged to this iron, this fire, this morning, these hands. Nobody else's rhythm. Hers. The sound of the hammer carried. Outside, the stream heard it. The cold air received it and released it. The sky above, still dark, still holding its stars, absorbed it the way a sky absorbs sound, completely, without keeping it. Each strike going out into the world and becoming part of it. Each strike adding to the record of things that had been made in this place, at this hour, by hands that arrived before the light. She did not know, striking, what the final shape would be. That was not the point of this stage. The point of this stage was contact. Hammer and iron. Hand and work. Maker and material. The relationship established. The conversation begun. The permission given. Not by anyone outside, not by any authority she had been waiting for, by the act itself, by the beginning. The heron at the wall had not moved. It watched, the way it had watched the stream, with complete attention, with no requirement that what it was watching justify itself. She was aware of it the way you are aware of a witness who is truly on your side, not cheering, not evaluating, just present. Just, I am here for this. I am here for the whole of this. begin. The first made thing emerged not as she had imagined it. Of course not. The first made thing never emerged as imagined. The imagined thing lived in the mind where nothing had resistance, where the iron did exactly what you intended, and the fire cooperated, and the making was clean. The actual thing was different, rougher, more itself, less like the plan and more like what the iron and her hands and this particular morning's fire had decided together. She held it, still warm, heavy with its own particular weight, real in a way that the imagined version had never been. Not perfect, real. And real was better. Real was always better. Because real meant it existed. Real meant it had been made. Real meant the making had happened, and nothing could unhappen it now. The first made thing was already in the world, already permanent, already proof that the maker had arrived at the forge and begun. The sky outside the forge door had changed. Not much, just enough. The particular darkness that belongs to before dawn had shifted slightly. From the complete dark of deep night to something that was still dark but remembered light. A dark that had already decided, somewhere in its depths, that morning was coming. She had seen this shift many times. It still moved her. Not because it was dramatic, because it was evidence. Proof that the dark was not permanent. That the work done in darkness would eventually have light to work by. That the beginning, the difficult beginning, the one made without the warmth and clarity that daylight brings, had been worth making. She set the first made thing on the cooling rack. She was not finished. This was not the final piece. The first made thing was never the final piece. It was the thing that proved the making was possible. The thing that unlocked the next thing, and the thing after that. The first made thing was permission, not given, not requested, made. She had given herself permission by striking the first blow, by picking up the tongs, by coming to the forge in the dark before anyone was awake to tell her yes. The permission you have been waiting for, divine soul. It has been in your hands the whole time. Not in anyone else's yes. Not in the right circumstances. Not in the moment when you finally feel ready. In the making. The first made thing is the permission. The first sentence written. The first hour given. The first morning you arrived before the world was watching and began anyway. That is the only permission that has ever existed, and it was always yours to give. The heron had returned to the stream. She could see it through the forge door, standing in the first gray light, its white body slightly luminous now against the dark water. Its charcoal wingtips catching the forge light behind her and the pre-dawn light ahead. Both kinds of light at the same time. The waymakers carry both, the forge dark of the beginning and the daylight coming toward them. It turned its head, very slightly, not fully toward her, just enough to include her in its field of awareness. She understood. It had been at the stream before she arrived. It would be at the stream after she left. It was not here for her. It was not here because of her. It was here because this was its place. The stream, the forge door, the watching, the pre-dawn. This was its work. It had not required permission for it. It had simply done what it was here to do, in the place it was here to do it, at the hour it was here to do it. Every day, without announcement, without requiring the world to confirm that its watching mattered. She turned back to the forge. There was more work. There was always more work. The first made thing cooling on the rack behind her. The fire still burning. The iron still in the heat. And the light coming. Slowly. The way light always comes. Not in a moment, not with announcement, just the gradual shifting of dark into something that carries more. She had begun before it arrived. That was the whole thing. That was the only thing. She had not waited for the light to tell her she was allowed to work. She had worked in the dark, and the light had come anyway, and found her already inside the making. This was how it always went, for the makers, for the ones who came to the forge before dawn, for the ones who struck the first blow without certainty, without permission, without the right season or the right feeling or the right external confirmation. The light found them working. It always did. Let me bring you somewhere simple now. Not the forge, not the stream, just this room, this quiet, this body that has been holding the work for a long time now. The unstarted thing, the almost begun. The thing in your hands that has been waiting for the right word from the right person at the right time. Feel the bed beneath you, the particular solidity of it, the way it holds you without requiring anything. You do not have to earn this surface. You do not have to justify the weight of yourself against it. It simply holds. The way the forge held Brigid. Not because she was worthy, because she arrived. because she came through the door in the dark, and the place received her the way all true places receive the ones who belong there. You belong here, in this quiet, in this rest, in this body that has been a maker's body for longer than you have given it credit for. The permission is in your hands, divine soul. Not in the yes you have been waiting for. Not in the moment when you finally feel ready. Not in the season that is better than this one. Not in the version of yourself you have been building toward. More prepared, more credentialed, more certain, as if certainty were a prerequisite for beginning. It is not. Brigid did not feel certain before she struck the first blow. She felt the iron was ready. She felt the hammer in her hand. She felt the particular clarity of a woman who has been at the forge long enough to know that certainty does not precede making. It follows it. You do not become certain and then begin. You begin and the certainty arrives in the doing, in the first sentence, in the first hour given, in the first morning you show up before the world is watching and find, to your surprise, that the forge was already burning, that it had been burning the whole time, waiting for you, the way all good work waits, patiently, without losing heat, without requiring you to deserve it before it welcomes you in. It has always been in your hands. The forge was always yours. The fire was already burning. The pre-dawn dark has been waiting for you to arrive before the world is watching and begin. Feel the weight of your body, the shoulders releasing all the way, the full distance. They have been carrying something, not just tonight, for a long time. The weight of the unstarted, the weight of the almost, the weight of the work that lives in you and has not yet been brought into the world. Let the shoulders release it now. Not the work itself, the waiting, the permission seeking, the bracing against the possibility that you will begin and it will not be enough. Release that. The first made thing is never what you imagined. It is always better because it is real. The hands open. The maker's hands. They know their work. They have always known. Even when the mind doubted, the hands held their knowledge. What it feels like to begin. What it feels like to work something from resistance into readiness. What it feels like to hold the first made thing. Still warm, imperfect, already in the world, already permanent, already proof. Let the hands rest now, open, empty, ready. The chest expanding, room for the making, room for the beginning. Room for the first made thing that will not be perfect and will be real. The jaw released, the throat soft, the eyes resting behind closed lids. Done with evaluation for tonight. Done with assessing whether you are ready. You were always ready. The forge always knew. Somewhere in the pre-dawn, on a hillside in a myth that is also your life, a forge is burning. A heron stands at a cold stream, its charcoal wingtips carrying the history of every fire it has witnessed. And Brigid, the one who comes before dawn, the one who does not wait for permission, the one whose first made thing is already cooling on the rack, is working in the dark, in the fire, before the world is watching. And the light is coming, not yet, but decided. And it will find her already inside the making, the way it will find you. Tonight, divine soul, you do not have to begin. Tonight is for rest. But you are the kind of woman who has a forge, and the fire is burning, and the pre-dawn belongs to you, and the permission has always been yours. Always. From the first moment the work arrived in your hands and you recognized it. That recognition, that was the permission. That has always been the only permission. Yours. Given. Complete. The forge was always mine. The permission is in my hands. I begin before the light. The first made thing is enough. The forge was always mine. Becomes the sound of iron finding its shape. Becomes the cold stream running past the door of the making. Becomes the pre-dawn dark that belongs to the ones who arrive before permission. Brigid is at the forge. The forge heron is at the stream. The first made thing is cooling on the rack. Real. Already real. Already in the world. May the work in your hands know it has been held well. May the forge fire in you burn without needing to be told it may. May the pre-dawn always belong to you. Sleep now, divine soul. The forge heron is keeping watch. The fire does not go out while you rest. It only deepens, the way all real things deepen when they are given time. Begin. Held. Home. Rest here as long as you need. The The story has done its work. You don't have to hold it. You can let it go the way you let a breath go, completely, without watching where it goes. Soul Signal will be here when you return. There are more stories waiting, more nights like this one. Until then, may you dream in light. May you wake in grace. And may you always know you are the signal.